Hello and welcome to the Techpedition Podcast. Wrapping up season 2. It's December 4th, 2017, a Monday. Bit chilly in KC. I'm here with my partner in crime, Clarence. How's it going, man?
Hey, man, I'm counting down the days till Christmas, dude. Are you excited? Oh, we're not 5 anymore.
Well, yeah, I'm excited, but in some ways, yeah. Very, very excited. Lots of gifts to open.
Yeah, just getting back from Vegas, huh?
Yeah. Had a good week. Learned a lot about AWS and whatnot, and did some networking. Met a bunch of cool people. It was a good time. Though I will continually admit that a week is too long to spend in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that does seem like a pretty long time, dude.
Yeah, but it was fun. A lot of fun. Anything you want to mention before we get started?
We've seen some trailers, I guess, or a trailer.
Oh yeah, the Marvel.
Man,
We got Avengers Infinity War official trailer, and everything has everything but the kitchen sink.
Yeah, get that man a
What'd you
shit.
think? Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking about too.
I thought
Cap looks like a lumberjack or something in here.
lumberjack Cap.
He looks a bit ruggish and manly.
Yeah, not so much stars and stripes. He's more of a muted, blackish type suit maybe this time.
Yeah, it's like he's got a solid snake suit on or something. There's a comic book character that, like, this is actually in the comics, but I can't remember the name of the character that he changes to when he's not Captain America.
Ah, cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about the trailer. Seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. They've done the groundwork so far to lay down all of the character backstory. So I don't feel like we're going to get a whole bunch of that in this movie, but I'm expecting balls to the wall fun.
Yeah, two things. The first one is I'm still curious to see if they're going to have the Wasp in here. I didn't see her or notice her in the trailer. Maybe I just missed it. She wasn't in there, right?
No, I didn't notice her either.
And the other thing is I'm just interested because even though it's part of the MCU, Guardians of the Galaxy is like vastly different than all other Marvel movies.
Yeah.
It's a lot more, I guess, like not jokish, but just like it's a lot more. I don't even want to say fun because all the movies are fun, but you know what I'm saying. There's just a different vibe. So I'm just interested to see how they interact with all the other characters.
Yeah, it was so weird to see Thor meet Star-Lord and the rest of the crew. But that being said, they did take Thor 3 or Ragnarok into they took it really into the direction of comedy, which was more similar to Guardians of the Galaxy than any of the previous. Yeah. Oh, you haven't seen Thor 3, have you?
I have not. I need to go see it. Dude, I might take Brandon to go see it real quick.
Joke after joke after joke. It is freaking hilarious. They almost do it too much, man.
Oh, really?
It very much felt like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, but still, it's a great movie. I loved it. Thor is actually cool now. Thor is my favorite hero now. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Wow. I really need to see this movie.
Chop the locks, man. Chop the locks.
Because cool. I've only seen the first one, and yeah, it was all right, but it felt kind of boring to me, and I still need to see Dark World. I have it. I just need to watch it.
Yeah,
I was gonna watch it before I watched Ragnarok. So
well, you probably don't have to watch it before Ragnarok, but you definitely probably need to watch it before Infinity War because an Infinity Stone plays a part in that movie, so you might want to watch it for that. Yeah. Okay,
sweet, good deal. Yeah, good to see Chadwick, aka Black Panther. You know, you mentioned him earlier. Give the man a shield. It was cool to see him and Bucky as well.
The guy you were in a movie with, that guy.
Yeah. Old James Brown.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really cool seeing him being in the Marvel movies.
Then, of course, Thanos, purple guy.
Oh yeah. It's kind of weird seeing him like actually walking around. He looks like a wrestler or something. I don't know, but I guess I'll get used to it.
Yeah, he looks really weird to me. But it's always weird when you have these high concept art characters like try to come over to the real world, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
They've done a good job with it so far, but seeing him, something about it just still felt funny. Seeing him walk around and stuff. So I don't know. It may be.
I guess it wasn't too bad in other movies because he's just sitting on his throne. He doesn't actually move around. So yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying there. Cool. So you want to jump into some CPU news?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Okay. I'm kind of not sure where to start with this, so we'll start with AMD. Okay. So if you haven't heard, AMD recently released their Vega graphics card line, and it's been extremely hard to find. And so far, there have only been reference model cards. So normally what happens is AMD and NVIDIA, they release their Frontier Edition or whatever, their reference model cards. And then after that, all the other vendors, AIB vendors, add-in board vendors, whatever you want to call them, like Asus, which Asus doesn't do NVIDIA, but I mean, Asus doesn't do AMD, but well, I think they do AMD. Do AMD. So you have XFX, you have AMD, not AMD. You have, I can't think of any of them. Wow. EVGA, they're just NVIDIA, but the point is that they take these reference designs, they take basically the motherboard from the reference design and they design their own coolers. So you'll have like really nice water cooled cards, or you'll have really nice dual fan cards. For example, like the EVGA card I have, it's a SC2 Superclock 2 card, and it's got like a whole bunch of, it's like completely over engineered. It's got like 9 different heat sensors, and the 2 fans will one fan is actually on the GPU processor, and the other fan is on like the chipset or the in the RAM. And basically what the cool thing about it is the fans, they don't turn, they're not synchronous. So if the CPU gets hot and the RAM's cool, only the CPU fan will turn, and vice versa if the RAM's hot. Yeah, so I mean, so basically you have all these different vendors. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to iterate what you were just going to say, that you have all these vendors who take the base model and do value add-ons to it to kind of differentiate the market.
Yeah, exactly. And Asus has really, really nice coolers. Dang, I'm drawing a blank here. But the point is, AMD has completely halted production of the Vega reference cards. And you hear that and you're like, oh no, like what, is something wrong? And there's nothing wrong. It's just that the chips are at such a shortage that what they're doing is they're freeing up more chips for the secondhand vendors or AIBs to create their custom modeled graphics cards, because there's just a huge shortage right now. And I don't know. I think it's pretty cool that they're doing this, because there haven't been, I think up till now, there haven't been any AIB Vega cards. They've all been either the Chrome Silver Vega Special Edition or the water cooled edition, or they've been just the drab black.
So for us laymen, what's the difference between AIB and just the reference cards per normal?
Okay, so AIB basically is when EVGA, they're, for some reason, they're the only one that's coming to mind right now, or XFX or Asus. They take AMD's reference design and they make their own card with it. Basically, it would be like if me and you started a company. Microsoft has like their reference Xbox One X. Uh-huh. If we made a custom model with like custom cooling and our own spiffy little design and released it as the Techpedition edition, like that's basically all it is they're reselling the cards, but they're, like you said earlier, they're just throwing in different designs to make it like a value add, to make their cards stand out. So instead of just buying the Asus brand reference card, you're buying the Asus Strix Republica Gamers whatever graphics card.
So I didn't, that's pretty cool.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Cool. That's pretty cool. Well, I didn't I didn't realize the normal references were strictly the reference design. But what you're saying is the AIB adds a little bit more differentiation to it, is what I'm gathering.
Yeah, because basically with NVIDIA and AMD, their reference, or like NVIDIA calls it their Frontier Edition cards, and AMD calls it they just call it reference, really. But they're basically blower style cards. So what it is it's like an enclosed case. There's one fan, and all the air goes in and out of the back of the card. So it goes like none of the air from the graphics card, the hot air, none of it goes into your case. It all blows out.
Gotcha.
And that's the cool thing, is it keeps the inside of your computer cool, but it's not the most efficient way to cool the card. So they're not able to get as much clock speed or memory speed as is possible, because the card can only get so cool with the blower style, even though it can be quiet. Usually the NVIDIA cards are pretty quiet, but the AMD cards tend to get loud. But like I said, it keeps the heat out of your case. And the AIBs, they kind of forego that and just do their own thing to cool the card as efficiently as possible. Gotcha. And when they do that, they can up the clock speeds. So basically, most of all the AIB cards come with higher clock speeds than the reference cards, just because they have more efficient cooling. And like I said, they're halting that production so the third-party AIB vendors can have more chips to make their own cards with, and therefore get more out into the market, because there's a huge shortage. The prices have actually come down a little bit. I think you can actually walk into Micro Center now. I haven't been recently. I think the last time I was there was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and see cards at the actual advertised MSRP, because for a while they were at least $100 over MSRP because they were so rare. So I mean, it can only be a good thing.
Do we know why supply is so constrained at this point?
I don't know. One of the rumors is that they're just not getting very good yields from the cards. So basically, when they make CPUs or they make GPUs, it's basically a huge wafer, and they chop up the wafer, and they etch, or however they create their chips, they etch their chips onto the wafer, and they test those chips. They cut the wafer, they test those chips one by one, and just the law of averages. Most of the chips will be like, okay, this is great. This will perform to spec that we have specified in our, reference design. But some of those chips don't perform up to spec, so they basically have to throw them out. With the Vega 64 and 56, there's a little bit of bending that goes on. So basically, if the 64 doesn't perform up to spec to 64, but it may still be able to perform to the spec of the 56, that chip just becomes a Vega 56 chip. They just turn off the extra transistors or the extra compute units, and they make it a Vega 56, or they disable them.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of how that works. I don't know if their yields are bad, or if the mining thing is the other thing we haven't really talked about. That also is one of the reasons there's such a shortage, is because not so much in America, but in I don't want to make this sound bad, but like in certain communist nations, I want to say like Brazil, maybe. I don't know if Brazil's communist, but there's one big country in South America where basically power is free. So you have people buying hundreds or tens or hundreds of these cards, and basically creating a mining operation in their house, or they'll buy a warehouse and buy thousands of these cards to mine crypto to make money. And it also happens I think they regulated it down a little bit in China, but it was also happening in China because their power is basically free as well, and they can make a pretty good profit off of it.
Yeah, I mean, especially. Well, I was just going to say, considering even like today where the Bitcoin value is something ridiculous. Like what?
Oh yeah, it's like
1,100 or somewhere like that.
Last time I checked, I think it was 7,000. Oh my God! It's at $11,000 now. Holy Christmas! It was 1,000 at the beginning of this year. It was 1,000.
That's ridiculous, dude.
Jesus. Yeah, I think the first Bitcoin billionaires are starting to pop up. Wow. Interestingly enough. But yeah, so you have that crazy price, and then people are going crazy trying to mine this stuff, and that's created a huge issue with GPU shortages. Lisa Su, the CEO of AMD, she was actually on I think it was MSNBC today, and she was talking about how like they're totally cool with the crypto people buying their cars. I don't know why they wouldn't be, but
yeah, for real.
There's like, yeah, I mean it's probably pulling it away from gamers, but AMD doesn't care who buys their cars. They just want them bought. They just want people to buy. They don't really care if it's a gamer or. And I, if I was in their position, I wouldn't care either. As long as my cars are selling, wouldn't really matter. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out, I guess.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder how we talked about their mining only cards, or their mining quote unquote cards. I wonder how those are actually doing. Have we heard any numbers on those?
I haven't heard numbers, but I keep a pretty good thumb on this. I haven't really noticed any newer, um, uh, mining only cards with a Vega architecture. Basically, those are all RX 470, 570, 480, 580, like their last architecture Polaris. That's basically those cards that they kind of had left over, that they're just trying to sell. And they basically chopped down the cards, so there could even be some bending going on there where you had a Vega, or not a Vega, you had a RX 470 that, wasn't suitable for gaming, so they just chop it down and, just have it, because it didn't have VGA out. I mean, it didn't have any video out on the card, so they just chop it up and slap it on
That's crazy.
Slap it on a rail and it's like, hey, here's your mining card. It's actually it's actually a boon to AMD, because I'm sure they're able to move a lot of stuff that they probably couldn't otherwise move that would just be sitting in a warehouse rotting. So it's all really, really interesting to me.
So do we want to stay on graphics card and talk a little bit about the RX Vega 56 and 64?
Speaking of AIBs, XFX, they released their first images of their RX Vega 56 and 64 double edition.
Weird looking card.
Yeah. A little fancy cooler there. I mean, if you look at this and then look at like a reference, like the reference card looks so boring. It's just basically a black box. Like something like this, it's really, really cool looking. And, I really like the idea that this is where the cars will really start to sell, I feel like, even more so than they already have been, because you get all these interesting cooling designs and stuff, and people actually be able to overclock these, without having the water cooled version. So it's just awesome. What do you think about it?
I always wonder how much of this is aesthetics versus it's needed to make the design more efficient, because these are going to be sitting in your case. So why the need to make it look all spacey and stealth out and looks like carbon fiber-esque printing on it? It looks cool, though. I will admit that.
Yeah, a lot of us folks have case windows, and if you spend $400 on a graphics card, you want it to be fancy. And I really, really like the carbon fiber they have on it. It looks really, really cool. Cool looking design. I don't really know if they say anything about clock. They do. So they're clocking in at 1156 base and 1471 megahertz boost. So yeah, so the reference, that's definitely higher than the reference clocks. So, I mean, it's that, just to reinforce what I was saying earlier about how they're able to push the cars a little harder. Very, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, I know when I got my 1060, I recently upgraded to the 1060. Older card, but I was kind of weirded out that it only had one HDMI and several display ports. Is that kind of just standard now?
Well, I mean, the thing about DisplayPort is that it's essential to high performance gaming now, because you can't really do FreeSync. Well, I take that back. You can do FreeSync over HDMI now. I don't know if you can do high refresh rate FreeSync, because I know Samsung released a line of monitors where you could do FreeSync over HDMI, but it's really not that common. But with G-Sync, you have to have DisplayPort, and for most cards, you have to have, for the high refresh rate adaptive sync, you have to have DisplayPort. It's just kind of a much better technology, because it has way more bandwidth than HDMI does.
And is that built into your monitor, or you're not doing no conversions, or you're going straight into DisplayPort to DisplayPort?
Yeah, with the AMD cards, what actually controls the FreeSync, it's actually built into the card, whereas with G-Sync for the NVIDIA cards that we have, they're a little more expensive because there's actually a controller built in each monitor. That kind of pulls the price up a little bit. So, but AMD found a way to do it on the card. So yeah, you're just paying a premium. But from what I understand, I haven't seen G-Sync. Well, yeah, I'll take that back. I have seen G-Sync in Micro Center. It's really, really awesome. And I'm just kind of biding my time until that's probably going to be my next big purchase, is a G-Sync monitor. Because basically with an adaptive sync, if you don't know what that is, let's say you have a monitor that's 60 hertz, so that's 60 frames a second, and your graphics card doesn't always display a constant 60 frames a second. So what that means is, unless you have something like VSync turned on, whenever you're your refresh rate drops, whenever your frame rate goes above or below 60 hertz, you'll get tearing. And if you've probably witnessed tearing when you see like the lines in the middle of your screen because your card's drawing a frame and your monitor is refreshing and they're not in sync, so you only get like half of the frame. So you get like these lines. Have you ever noticed that before?
Yeah, I've seen that before.
But yeah, so if you do VSync, basically what it does is it syncs your card and your monitor through software, and it works and it's nice, but it also introduces a bit of input lag. So your screen
so is gone, but you get lag.
Yeah, it's not as responsive. So basically what FreeSync and G-Sync do is they take that to the next level. Basically, they link the video card and the monitor in such a way that the refresh rate isn't controlled by the monitor. It's controlled by your graphics card's frame buffer. So your monitor displays every frame as soon as your card draws it. So there's no there's no missync and there's no tearing and there's no lag. So it's just a really, really nice technology if you like high frame rates or, even at a solid 60, you could tell a difference because you're not getting tearing and stuff. So it's really nice.
Cool. So I guess we can pivot now to a bit of Ryzen news. And
yeah, so
you're very much on the Ryzen bandwagon, aren't you?
Yeah, and this is one reason I'm glad this has finally been officially announced, because this is one reason why I bought a Ryzen, or why I swapped architectures, is because there was rumors that AMD was going to stick with the AM4 socket for a while. And this was just officially confirmed. There was I think it was Overclockers UK. They had a Q&A session with James Pryor. He's a senior product manager at AMD. And he basically came out and said that they're going to be supporting AM4 until 2020, which is huge.
Yeah.
So basically, with Zen 2 and Zen 3, I don't need to buy another motherboard. I don't need to buy more RAM or anything else. I just buy the new CPU and drop it in.
Oh, they said with Ryzen 3 as well?
Yeah, with Ryzen 3 as well.
Oh, wow.
And the most I'll have to do is basically maybe a BIOS update. And that's huge because I bought I think it was LG 1151, which was the 6600K, the 6000 series, and the 7000 series came out, and I could buy a 7000 CPU and drop it in my motherboard with a BIOS update. But later this year, now the Kaby Lake stuff came out, and that stuff is actually not compatible, even though it's the same socket. The chipset is different. So I'd have to buy a new motherboard. And they just released, with the 8600 series that just came out, it's the same thing. It's not compatible with LG 1151, so you have to buy a new motherboard. And basically, Intel, at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, they refresh their sockets. They've been on 14 nanometer for a while, which we'll get to in a minute, but they basically refresh their sockets, they refresh their motherboards, and you have to pretty much buy everything new.
Well, that makes me wonder. It makes me wonder: is that really necessary, or are they doing that in lockstep with the motherboard creators to just drive market?
Yeah, I mean, a big part of it is driving market. I mean, they had no competitor, so there was no threat of AMD, people swapping to AMD, because AMD didn't really have a high performance CPU out. So they pretty much had the market to themselves, and they're kind of stuck in this, let's just, do our little incremental updates to get our little small amount of performance and, help our vendors sell more motherboards, which will in turn help us sell more CPUs, sell more RAM, basically drive the entire, enthusiast market.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's cool if you want like the latest and greatest, but at the same time, it doesn't make any sense to upgrade your motherboard every year. It makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
There's no good reason other than greed to why they couldn't.
Well, that's going to be my other point. Like, what is Ryzen AMD giving up by not upgrading the slot?
Well, I don't think they're giving up anything, but the thing is, the reason they're so probably willing to do this is because they're behind Intel, and they're trying to give people incentive to switch. And so Zen is 14 nanometer, Zen 2 will be 7. And that is what's coming out next year, and be able to just drop it in my computer, and get more performance, which is really, really sweet. And if you're on the fence, I know Intel's new 8700 series or 8000 series of CPUs just came out, and they are phenomenal. and they are higher performance, but they're also higher price, and you have to buy, you have to buy a new motherboard. It's still DDR4, so you can keep your RAM, probably everything else, but you do at least have to buy a new motherboard, which can be a pain.
Yeah, it sucks when it's not just the price of the CPU, but another $100 some odd bucks for a motherboard every time. that could get annoying.
Yes, very, very, very. So I'm really excited about this to see, what kind of especially since with Intel's new CPUs, they've upped their core counts. So you have a 7700K, right?
Yes. Yes, I do. Yes.
And that is 4-core, 8-thread. So the 8700K is 6-core, 12-thread.
Oh, wow.
And so they've upped their core counts, and it'll be really, really interesting to see, what AMD does for Zen 2 to kind of drive more value. I'm wondering if the R5s next year will have 8-core, 16-thread. I mean, I think it's really, really awesome. I was really tempted to buy a R7 1700 plus, or is it 1700 plus? 1700X. I was really tempted to buy one because it's 8-core, 16-thread, and it was selling in Black Friday for like $200, which is insane.
Yeah, that is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, so it's just another one of those things where the market, there's competition, and we're seeing like this tug and pull. And I feel like Intel's going to have to start pulling out the big guns, to keep their market share. Because if they don't do something, they're just gonna continually lose market share. So yeah, and which also kind of plays in this. I'll just go ahead and kick this other story because it kind of plays into this.
Yeah,
it appears that Intel's been on 14 nanometer for a while. Let's see. They've done 4 CPU generations on the 14 nanometer architecture. And basically what that means is, so you like we were talking earlier about the wafer that they cut their CPUs out of, all of the instructions are etched in 14 nanometers. So like basically the smaller the nanometer or the process, the more instructions you can fit on the same chip, which will make it, theoretically will make it faster, because you can put more transistors, more instructions on it. And the rumor is that Intel's had 10 nanometer chips. They've been producing them for a while, but they've been intentionally holding them back because there's been no really good reason to release them. But I guess because they didn't have competition. It really, really sucks.
Yeah, well, I know I've heard plenty of tech pundits talk about the whole Moore's law, quote unquote, not being in, not really staying true, because, we're supposed to be to the 10 nanometer level by now.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, like you said, we've been there. They just been not releasing them, which is really weird.
And I mean, from a business standpoint, it makes perfect sense because there's really been no financial reason for them to, because the 14 nanometer stuff selling just fine. They can still add more cores like they just did with the last CPUs. They can still add more cores, get more performance, and they still have the best single core performance. So there's not really a huge incentive. But I mean, the thing that might bite them on this is because like AMD isn't even doing 10 nanometer. Their next CPU is going to be 7.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things where they could kind of end up biting themselves in the butt. But there's also rumors that the 10 nanometer Intel part can perform as well as the 7 nanometer AMD part, which I guess we'll see in the next year or so whether that's actually true. But it's just funny when you hear stuff like this, and you kind of start thinking about things in a business sense. And although it kind of sucks as a consumer, it kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, and that's why we need, AMD over there doing their thing so they can drive the innovation a little bit further to where, they're going to do, as in Intel, they're going to do whatever it takes to prolong their business. They have something that's going good. They're not just going to keep spending money and redoing factory processes for their whole lines when what they have is doing great and people are loving it. Every so often you do have to innovate, but they're going to milk it as long as they can. And that's just business, like you said.
Yeah, and the best thing I can like kind of equate this to is like car designs.
Yeah.
If you look at like the Honda Civic, for like 3 or 4 years, it'll look exactly the same.
Yeah.
And then like I guess Volkswagen or Mazda or Toyota, they'll refresh their comparable car design So they're like, oh man, we look dated now. Let's redesign the car. And I don't think there's any car where they completely redesign it every year. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of the same thing since it's so expensive to R&D that they want to drag it out as far as they can. Kind of like the console releases.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's a good parallel. So we can talk about Microsoft.
Yeah. So anybody who's any kind of football fan will know that the Pats head coach had a little kerfuffle with the Surface not too long ago. And do you want to kind of tell the story of what happened, Kary?
I can't remember the game exactly, but I think they weren't playing too well. And Belichick was trying to diagram plays on the tablet and it wasn't responding. And he just got frustrated. He threw it on the ground. Do it on the ground.
Oh, man. So about 5 years ago, Microsoft scored a $400 million deal to supply the NFL with Surface tablets. And I mean, it's had its ups and downs, but I think it really accomplished its job of getting the name of Surface out there. I mean, I've had people ask me about Surface. I've, never thought I would, it's just that it's out there in the consciousness of a lot of people simply because it's on one of the most watched things on television, which is football. So Microsoft has extended the deal for Surface on the sidelines to the end of the 2019 season. So that's pretty cool, I guess, for Microsoft.
Yeah, I think it's a huge deal just because I hate to use the word single-handedly, but I feel like it played a huge part in the visibility of the Surface because, if for nothing else, people are like, so what are those tablets they're using? Are those iPads? No, those are Microsoft. It just NFL advertising money, so it was a huge deal. And the cool thing is you see this at the Pro Bowl, you see it Super Bowl, all the playoff games. Yeah, so they don't have to pay any money for Super Bowl commercials because they're freaking using the tablets during the game. And there's usually always that obligatory shot of the I guess it's a cart that has all the Surface tablets in it that they usually show on the sideline. So, it's I think it's a huge deal for Microsoft. I mean, just think about if Apple would have like came in and just like stole this from them. It'd been like a huge coup. So it was cool that they could keep this, I guess. I just wonder how much money they spent.
Yeah.
Or if there was a bidding war with like Apple or Lenovo. I think, does Lenovo make that? Yeah. Or Dell.
You hear stuff like this, and like I think the last thing that advertising deal with the NFL that really jumped out at me was the whole was it Bose headphones was the official sponsor, and like if you wore Beats, you got in trouble, which is really weird.
Yeah, I remember Cap got fined for wearing Beats to a press conference.
Cap looked back at those days with glory because now he's not in NFL.
Yeah, poor Cap.
But cool. Yeah. Do we want to talk about Google giving Pixelbook and Samsung Chromebook owners 6 months free Netflix?
Yeah, this seems to be the thing now, giving people streaming services for free with a hardware purchase. So, Google's got their new stuff coming out.
It's almost like Netflix is like a God-given right or something at this point because like everybody's giving it away with their service. I know we talked about what Hulu last week was giving away with something, but this is kind of crazy how stream. It seems like the video stuff is given away more often than the music stuff now, which is really weird because you think the video would be a bit more valuable to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, Sprint's desperate. They're giving away. I think they're giving away like six months free a title that nobody even wants to use. So,
poor Hove.
And I mean, it's funny because if you can spend $1,000 for a Chromebook, you can surely, afford a $10.99 per month Netflix subscription. But
and then again,
I mean, it's nice to not have to pay for.
Yeah, you don't know how much of it is actually pushed into the price of the Chromebook itself. I'm sure some of it is. So hey,
you probably pay for it anyway.
It's all masked. Smoking mirrors.
I didn't think about that at all. You just ruined that for me.
Well, I mean,
I bet you're absolutely right. It's just $60, so yeah, I'm sure they could bake that in. Oh, you also get $20 of Google Play credit and 100 gigabytes of Google Drive storage for 2 years and a 90-day trial of Google Play Music. So they're throwing freebies around, man.
And you get a Netflix.
Oh man, good stuff, man. We're blowing right through these.
Yeah.
So little gaming news. So the Mega Man X collection was just announced recently, and it looks like that they're also making a Mega Man 11 video game, 30-year anniversary, and it's gonna be on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. And the first thing I thought when I saw videos of this is I was like, this is their answer to Mighty Number 9.
Really?
Well, I hate to say Mighty Number 9 that a Mega Man game reminds me of Mighty Number 9. Yeah, it's basically the guy who invented or created Mega Man. He went independent and he did a crowd Kickstarter to develop Mighty Number 9. And yeah, it wasn't a very good game.
Not in the least.
But this actually, I don't know if you've seen the trailer yet, but it looks really, really nice. It gave me a little bit of a Mighty Number 9 vibe, a little bit of a Shadow Complex vibe. I mean, it looks like it could be a really, really cool game. Looks like it's going to be difficult as well. So,
is this the Mega Man most modern Mega Man we've had in a while? I know there's been a slew of handheld versions that have come out over the years.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny because we had 3D like free roaming sandbox Mega Man in like the late 90s, early aughts, Mega Man Legends. I don't know if you remember those two games, but they were really, really popular. So it was just kind of cool to see Mega Man back in 3D, which I take that back. I think some of the X games were in 3D as well. Some of the PlayStation 3 Mega Man X games were in 3D. So
yeah, this does look really freaking cool. I wonder if they're trying to catch some of that Sonic Mania vibe.
Oh yeah, probably so. That game was phenomenal, much better than Sonic. What was that game called? Sonic Forces or whatever that crap game that just came out was called.
Let's just say the last 8 Sonics. And be done.
every Sonic after Sonic and Knuckles, basically.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it looks nice, man.
Good stuff.
Cool.
Very, very nice.
And
what else do we have?
Some gaming news. Jeff Keighley hints at the 6th installment of a big game franchise will be announced at the Game Awards.
Oh yeah.
Do we know what this is?
Like this got me thinking. Metal Gear Solid 5, huge dust up from that because they basically fired Kojima and publicly shamed him, and he's supposed to be at these Game Awards as well. So it just got me wondering if he's going to make nice with Konami or if they'll actually let him develop the game, I guess, independently. I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening, man. I can't, after all that kerfuffle they went through, I just don't see them giving him the rights to make that game with his new studio. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, it was a pretty nasty breakup. So, I don't know. One can always hope, I guess.
Maybe. Any other things you think that may be announced?
It's hard for me to think of many games with that would be the 6th installment. So that was one reason I was like, I think they list a few at the bottom here.
Let me go scroll down.
Halo 6?
Maybe? Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah. Elder Scrolls 6 would be huge. Oh man, that would be humongous.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just, really no telling. But there's not that many 5th and, 6th installment AAA games out there. So if it's any one of those, I guess I'll be excited. I just hope they bring Halo back to the roots of Halo, because right now Destiny 2 is more like Halo than Halo 5 was. So
yeah. Well, it's just that Bungie feel, man. The Bungie magic.
Yeah, what do they call it? The 8 seconds of fun or something? Where, you get in the firefight and you die and rinse, repeat. But
yeah. Die, repeat. Man.
Exactly. So I guess I'll be tuning into this to see what it is.
When does this happen again?
The Game Awards I think it's in about a week. So
hosting in LA on December 7th and will be streamed for those who can't be there on YouTube and Twitch. Cool.
Yeah. Tune in. Oh yeah, and there was one thing that we didn't list that I kind of want to talk about, that we didn't talk about since we're on games. Did you know that EA has acquired Respawn Entertainment, the makers of Titanfall?
For some reason, I thought they owned them already. They were just recently required them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they published their first two games, Titanfall and Titanfall 2, but they were independent, and I believe they own the rights to that IP as well.
Yeah.
But EA has taken it over.
Huh? Because it seems like Titanfall at first was backed by Microsoft, and then like after it was time windowed, and then it eventually came to both platforms, and Titanfall 2 was on both.
I don't think the first Titanfall was ever on PS2 or 3 or whatever. I don't think it ever came to PlayStation.
Wow.
But the second one is on both. But yeah, the first one never came, so I guess it was a perpetual exclusivity. It was just on PC and Xbox.
Interesting.
Of course, the second one's on everything, but
yeah,
with all the bad publicity EA's been getting recently, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing.
EA owns everything. Somebody stop the beast.
They've just killed so many studios that it's just like I don't. It's hard for me to feel like optimistic about this.
Yeah, I kind of wish some other big player would just start buying up stuff. Instead of, because I'm like you said, I'm just getting tired of EA buying stuff, killing it, or not only killing it, but making it way less than it used to be. It loses that magic once it goes EA in a lot of cases.
Dead Space, the development studio behind Dead Space, they just killed. That's just one example, but it just doesn't make me feel good at all.
I think we need another big player, man.
Loot boxes coming to Titanfall 3.
What?
Pay to win.
Oh yeah. Microtransactions.
Oh,
FTW.
lots of cool stuff happening. So do you want to round it out with this semi-tech, semi-political
there's a tax bill and you're gonna love it. It's gonna be the best tax bill ever.
It's beautiful. We've been polishing it over the last year, and it's gonna destroy something. I don't know. But yeah, so if you haven't heard, the GOP tax bill passed the Senate about a week or two ago, and it recently passed it passed the House, and then it recently passed the Senate last few days ago, and it has sent the tech market into a tizzy. So, to say the least,
I don't know stocks, buns, crap, all this stuff. So, do we know what the underlying piece of the legislation that is causing things to go into said tizzy? Do we know?
Well, I mean, I just kind of have the 1,000-foot view of it. But basically, the short of it is tech stocks have kind of been the most stable stocks, the high performers. And with this GOP tax bill, it's supposed to stimulate a lot of lagging markets. So it looks like a lot of people are moving their money out of tech and moving it into these lower performing markets, anticipating the growth of these markets from the tax bill. And that's kind of sent the tech stocks into a tizzy because a bunch of people sell and, the price goes down. So then a bunch of people are like, oh, the price is down, let me buy. And, rinse, repeat. So I think that's a big part of the volatility. It will be interesting to see, once the Senate gets done with their alterations, I guess, of the bill, to see what it looks like. I haven't really been paying a whole lot of attention to it though, but I do know that they're lowering the corporate tax from like 35% to like 20% or like 20 or 25%. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects, a lot of the corporations and businesses that aren't already cheating the system.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of these indexes have not been doing well over the past few weeks is part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a pretty big decline, especially in NASDAQ. I think there's most of the big tech companies are in NASDAQ, so it's taking a pretty big hit.
Yeah, I'd hate to see something like this affect the tech sector this badly, I guess, but I don't know, man. It's just, it only takes a little to throw things off kilter and send us on a downward spiral. And man, I don't like this one bit.
So you see these little percentages thrown around, like I said, the NASDAQ dropped like 4%, but Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, they're kind of the big heavy hitters. Like last Wednesday, they took a $60 billion market hit. and that's what like been the most in like 5 years. So I mean, it's a bit concerning, but I don't think it'll get to the point that the tech boom or the tech bust of the early 2000s or aughts. I don't feel like it'll get to that point, but I guess it's worth keeping an eye on if you're a stock person. It might be a good time to buy if the prices drop enough.
Yeah, it looks like tech companies are less likely to gain from tax cuts. So I guess currently tech stocks have the tech sector has the third lowest tax rate of any industry. So
they're already smart enough to hide their money. I think Apple's got like billions and billions of dollars in like one of the not Swiss bank accounts, but one of those offshore
islands somewhere countries. so if that in itself is thrown on its head, and these companies are having to dole out much more money in taxes, that could spell trouble, and I see why. I see why they're on a downward spiral.
Yeah, and my thing is, like, Facebook's market cap is $498 billion. I like Facebook. I believe that they're very, very, very profitable and successful, but it's just hard for me to believe that Facebook is worth $500 billion. Like, I just don't see it, like that's.
Well, it's all about ads, man. All about ads.
Yeah, they're finally, removing functionality and making people pay for it. So I guess that's profitable. Makes me a little mad, but
it's the ads, dude. I mean,
did we talk about that?
I don't know if I know what you're talking about. Them removing functionality.
So basically, about 10 years ago, when Facebook first came out, if you created a page and people liked your page, whenever you posted something, it showed up in their feed.
It's been like that, dude. They
willy nilly. But about 6 or 7 years ago, they started removing it. Removing page posts from showing up in the feed, and now you pay for advertising. You boost your post, and you get that functionality that you had in the beginning. And now I think it's to the point to where only 1% of your page viewers or page likers. I don't know the proper term for that. Like, I think it's less than 1% actually see what you post, which is ridiculous.
I mean, well, I feel about that way in Facebook in general. It's not just, you don't get the Twitter-esque feed that you used to get in Facebook of old. It's all, context or computer driven to give you what they think you're going to like the best or what you think is your interest, which I wish I could just turn it off. I'd almost want a page just to turn it off because it's just annoying. Because there is so much stuff I don't even see stuff from my friends anymore. I have to mute other people or mute pages just so I can see the stuff from my friends. Just give me a simple chronological order. Even Twitter does it now. It just gets on my nerves. Like, why? This is not the world I want to live in.
Yeah, it sucks, but I guess it's working for them. They're worth $500 billion.
We just don't have any other choices. That's what it is. And nobody's going to Google Plus.
Do you think Facebook will ever go the way of MySpace?
Interesting question. You know what? I think there could have been chances, but Facebook has played the smart game as far as acquisitions. They picked up Instagram. I think they own WhatsApp. If there's anybody that comes along that is any type of competition to them, they can just buy them and kill them or buy them and integrate them. So it's sort of like the whole Microsoft, Microsoft thing all over again. They are well placed to snuff out any would-be competitors, which is disappointing. But, there's always a chance. Google Plus tried, but it just didn't work. Twitter, not quite there yet. There's always a chance, man. But they're so pervasive now. It's going to be hard, man. It's going to be hard to topple the throne.
Yeah, I'm looking at their acquisitions, and they've had 65 acquisitions.
They don't play.
Notables: Connect You, social networking; Friend Feed, social networking; Friendster. Wow, there's quite a few on here.
Yes,
Friendly, Instagram, of course.
And what DNA of those other companies has lived on? I would dare say not much. Of course, you have exceptions like Instagram, where they just like, okay, we'll leave you alone. You're awesome. You're still doing good. WhatsApp, we'll pretty much leave you alone. You're awesome. We like what you're doing. But all the DNA of these other companies, I dare say they're just completely wiped out.
Whoa, they bought WhatsApp for $19 billion.
Yes, WhatsApp is huge. Not in the US, but it's huge. Just not here.
That's like more than they pay for Oculus. They paid $2 billion.
Oculus too. That's another one. Facebook is everything.
Yeah, Facebook is love. Facebook is life. Wow. Yeah, they've had staying power though. I'll have to give it to them. They haven't sat on their laurels like Tom from MySpace did. They've tried to keep innovating things, I guess, and buy companies that are a threat.
They was still a technology or a way of doing things in a freaking heartbeat. I mean, Instagram has pretty much copped everything that Snapchat does. And then I just even look back at things like, what was the location place you could check in all the time? Foursquare? Like Foursquare. They built all that stuff into Facebook.
Oh,
I mean,
they destroyed Foursquare. Is that even still around?
I don't know why it would be.
It's like, is anybody actually using Foursquare anymore?
But dude, any competition, they could just buy them or implement the thing that they're doing. That's cool. So will Facebook ever be toppled? I don't see it anytime soon, but kings are made to be knocked off the throne every now and then. So, hey, who knows?
No one man should have all that power. Kanye West.
Truer words.
Oh man. Well, I feel like we've had a really good discussion. What do you think?
It's been fun, dude. It's been fun.
Hopefully I didn't nerd out too much on the video card stuff. I love talking about hardware, man. I apologize to the listeners out there if I made your eyes glaze over.
Not at all, man. Not at all. Guys, if you like this podcast and want to hear more about what I do and Kary as well, we do another podcast called the STD Podcast, a Star Trek Discovery podcast, where we talk about all things Star Trek. And it's a lot of fun. Check it out if you're a Star Trek fan. That's at stdpodcast.com, as well as subscribing to this podcast if you're not already, and you can find out more information about that at techpedition.com.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We'll see you guys next week.
All right,
have
guys.
a good week.
Very, very quick. Expedition. Very, very quick. Expedition. Very, very quick. Expedition. Very, very quick. Expedition.
I can't beat that. I just smells burnt and dusty.
Hey guys, don't miss an episode of the Techpedition Podcast. For more information, go to techpedition.com/subscribe. TECHPEDITION.com.